Hey everybody, I just have a suggestion for you today if you've not seen it already. Whatever you might think of the Joe Rogan podcast, about a month ago, his exclusivity deal with Spotify expired and he's now back on YouTube. And yesterday, there was what effectively is like a clash of titans here. Graham Hancock versus an actual archaeologist. Okay, it's well worth a watch. Who is Graham Hancock, you're going to ask? Well, he's the guy who for years has been claiming that there is evidence of a lost civilization, a grand seafaring, technologically advanced civilization that existed tens of thousands of years ago and predated the last ice age, okay, and was wiped out around 12,000 years ago. The survivors of which then spread to various areas of the world and seeded knowledge of archaeology, agriculture, and astronomy to like the ancient Egyptians and various different civilizations across the globe, and that there is evidence of the existence of these peoples hidden now by floodwaters and I guess under like the sands in Africa, and that we only have to find it. Now, for decades, he's been writing books about this. The most famous, Fingerprints of the Gods, Fingerprints of the Lost Civilization, basically, Magicians of the Gods, America Before, and this one in particular, Underworld, which catalogues his efforts to go looking around the world for evidence of this ancient civilization submerged since the sea levels rose 12,000 years ago. I remember watching a TV show of this as a kid. So I'm guessing a few years after this was published, there was a television show made. And I have a clip for you here.
I've spent a decade combing the world for clues about the origins of civilization. In doing so, I've occasionally followed highly speculative leads, some of which I now realise have led me wide of the mark.
It's quite ironic, given the topic.
This has attracted a lot of criticism, some of it richly deserved, but none of it's convinced me that there couldn't be a big missing chapter in man's early history.
So you get the drift. He is looking for the lost civilization. He's the Indiana Jones of our times, going around the world, looking for evidence, piecing it all together. It's a modern day search for the Holy Grail. He does scuba diving and stuff.
Marine archaeologists are looking for shipwrecks, not the submerged traces of a lost civilization that they don't believe ever existed. I think there's room for an independent approach. I'm not a scientist, but a journalist, and I don't have the funding of a marine institute.
He's the man against big archaeology. Okay, the veritable Indiana Jones of our times. So you get the idea. It's all incredibly compelling.
We have ancient accounts which continue right through until the 17th century that speak of an enormous megalithic temple partially submerged in the waters of Grand Harbor. And then those accounts stop. And today, no trace remains.
But he's always coming up empty, if you haven't noticed. There's a kind of a theme. I didn't notice it at the time, but he is always somewhat coming up empty of evidence. So anyway, somehow he had managed to write dozens of books on this and claims to have incredibly compelling evidence of all this. Either way, he's turned it into a career. He's made millions of dollars on this. I'm not claiming he doesn't believe it, but effectively the question came down to, have his ideas ever really been tested, or is he just a pseudo-archaeologist? And anyway, I'm going to give up the like 20 pence in advertising that I might make on this by playing you a couple of clips from the Joe Rogan show, so you can compensate me with a thumbs up. Thank you very much.
Because I
And
wouldn't
so-
look for a lost civilization in northern Europe during the Ice Age.
Why not? We
Because
have
a lost-
hunter-gatherers there.
Yes, a lost civilization would not be choosing to live in northern Europe during the Ice Age. It was a frozen fucking wilderness.
Not everywhere.
Why would they want to live there?
Not after the last glacial maximum. We have people in the UK living there.
Well, it's not where I look. I look in areas, in underserved areas of the world. We talked
And so
about
this is an issue. We have
We talked about these mysterious strangers.
the lovely aspects of humans around the world.
Okay, we get the drift. There's some good parts, some good debates in it. But, and here I suppose I'm in danger of polluting what your takeaway will be, but I have to give you mine. You would have expected Graham to come to this show with his A game after, 3-4 decades of writing books, going around the world, collecting and cataloguing the evidence. You'd expect him to come with something compelling on the day. And really, whatever you might think of this archaeologist guy, he is attempting to only deal with the evidence. He wants to do his presentations, prove to you how he knows what he knows based upon the amount of evidence, and bring like a positive case for his and show why Graham doesn't have anything that can stand up. And so it comes down to Graham's evidence, of which even Joe Rogan himself is left asking the question, well, Graham, do you have anything more compelling than this? Do you have anything more?
As well. It seems to me inconceivable that nature could have made this, that nature could have separated out this central upright and then created the uprights surrounding it in such a perfect way.
But it's not totally perfect, right? Like, look at the back. The back is much larger.
Yeah,
there's a piece on the side that seems like it's cut out, and then there's a piece in front that seems like it's cut out. But even the one to the lower left is not. It's not cut the same. It's odd that you have that passageway when you're looking down, and it's sort of uniform on all sides around the monolith. That's pretty fascinating. It's interesting.
My point is not nearly enough work has been done by archaeology.
And how long ago was supposedly was this above?
Okay, so even Joe Rogan, who's a bullshit magnet, is left wanting Graham to give him something more.
Actually, it looks like a room there, even, is what I see on the left, for example.
It's not a room.
To me, it looks similar, but not similar in that whole room area on the left-hand side.
And then in the middle, there's this big part where Graham isn't happy just with Flint at all, effectively. And instead of them sticking to the evidence, look, I get it. Graham has this, there's this problem with the fact that up until now, like in the years and weeks leading up to this, he's been smeared by archaeologists in the past, including Flint himself. But Flint wasn't coming here saying any of this stuff about Graham, but Graham wants to effectively use it to smear Flint. So it is a type of ad hominem attack on Flint's character that Graham brings to like the central part of the debate, rather than just focusing on any of the evidence.
Here's the Guardian. So they're misquoting you, are they? As Dibble states, such claims reinforce white supremacist ideas. They strip indigenous people of their rich heritage and instead give credit to aliens or white people. Why didn't you get the Guardian to put that right?
Well, I don't.
Did you
decide
actually
what
say
they
that,
write.
though?
I did not say that Graham reinforces white supremacist ideas. As I've said,
So this
the
quote is not
history-
real?
They stripped the stories of Atlantis, yes, and I think that that's an issue. So Graham, you go around the world to megalithic sites, right?
So the quote,
And-
reinforce white supremacist ideas, that's not yours.
No, that's not a quote. It's not in quotation.
Right, it was in the other article. That's what I'm getting
And
to.
again,
They
in that-
strip indigenous people of their rich heritage and give credit to aliens or white people.
Well-
In short, the series promotes ideas of race science that are outdated and long debunked. And this is
And I
your
did not
own.
say.
Right, but
this
that's
is your
not
own,
his quote,
This is
though.
your own article, Flint. Here you are. I'm quoting from. That's a quote from your article published in The Conversation, this sort of race science is outdated and long since debunked, especially given the strong links between Atlantis and Aryans proposed by several Nazi archaeologists. You are associating me with this, and you are attempting to get me
I'm asking
cancelled
you to
effectively.
distance yourself from that. Is
But that's-
actually
but
what I'm
that-
trying
But that's
to do.
not what you're doing, though. You're associating him with that, clearly.
I don't think so.
propaganda.
I do not
you
see
don't
this as
think
propaganda.
that? Look at the way it's phrased on
Okay.
your article. This sort of
So way too much time is spent on this, and it detracts from the question of whether there's any there to Graham's work, which is effectively, look, you instinctively are going to side with Graham on this. Look, this guy's calling him a white supremacist and a Nazi. What a like retarded normie. But he didn't come with that to this debate. He's just here with his evidence about fossils, bones, seeds, agriculture, showing how we know exactly what we know, and making a positive case as well, which is important for our understanding of the development of civilization through time. And then he put, which is a positive case, by the way, as to why there can't be a civilization that existed with agriculture prior to 12,000 years. He does this stuff, which is a very compelling case, to do with seeds here and how we know about domesticated plants based upon the type of seeds that undergo selection pressure. And he explains all this and how we can see it in the records by taking core samples of when domesticated seeds from agriculture first appear on Earth, and that taking large core samples, deep core samples, we can see that they don't appear before 12,000 years. So no matter what Graham's theories might be, there's zero evidence that there was any agriculture prior to that time. And it even forces Graham, in parts here, to like concede that his claims about this lost civilization are weaker than you would imagine. Like, he even says, I'm not claiming that they had agriculture. I'm not claiming that they were as advanced as us. So it really is interesting. Then they talk about Egypt and stuff like that, and whether all the stuff in Egypt matches up. And this guy points out that many of the numerical coincidences about Egypt perhaps are just coincidental facets about numbers themselves. A bit like I've done on my videos joking about Israel Diego Rivera recently. So look, I'm going to leave a link to this in the description. I recommend you go and watch it for yourself and see what your takeaway is. Okay, it's worth watching, because there is this question on our side of the fence of the internet about the standards of evidence for what you believe in. And some people lack any standards of evidence, like these guys, and even these guys. I know, shots fired. Shots fired. But it does come down to, what are your standards of evidence? Or are you just willing to suck up any total bullshit? Do you just want to believe? Or are you interested in the truth? And if so, are you interested in empirical evidence? So go and watch this for yourself, ladies and gents, and let me know what you think to it in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Appreciate you.